My wife stood in our doorway with 3 suitcases, told me she needed space to find herself, and flew to Europe for a month, leaving me alone with our 1-year-old daughter. I'm David Thompson, 32. I work in IT consulting, and up until that moment, I thought we had a normal marriage. Lauren and I had been together 6 years, married 3, and Hannah had just turned 1 when Lauren announced her self-care trip. She'd been planning it with her college friends for 2 months, the kind of friends who still lived like they were 23, no kids, no mortgages. The itinerary was Paris, Rome, Barcelona, Amsterdam, a whole month bouncing around Europe like she was on some gap year she never got to take. When she first told me, I thought she was joking. I actually laughed because who leaves their baby for a month to party in Europe? But she wasn't laughing back. She had this mix of defiance and exhaustion on her face and said, "I've lost myself, David. I'm not just a mom, I'm a person, and I need to remember who that person is." I tried to be understanding. I told her maybe we could plan a long weekend instead, but she cut me off and said that wouldn't be enough, that she needed real distance, real time, and that I was her husband, so I should be able to handle it. She'd been reading articles about maternal burnout, quoted therapists, and mentioned Oprah twice. The whole time I'm thinking, this isn't about burnout. This is about wanting to pretend you don't have a kid. I asked how she could leave Hannah that long, and she got defensive. Said Hannah would be fine, that babies are resilient, that I was being dramatic. Every time I brought it up, she made it about me not supporting her mental health. The weeks before she left got worse. She was on her phone constantly texting friends about hotels and restaurants. I noticed she'd started pulling away from Hannah in small ways, letting her cry longer, handing her off to me the second she got fussy. Every time Hannah needed something, Lauren would sigh like it was this huge inconvenience. Everything was about the trip, about her, about this version of herself she was supposedly rediscovering. She'd stay up late looking at travel blogs while I handled the entire bedtime routine alone. When I'd come out to the living room, Lauren would barely look up from her phone. I tried talking about logistics. What if Hannah gets sick or I have a work crisis? And she'd wave me off, saying I was worrying too much. The night before she left, I asked one more time if she was really sure about this. She got this frustrated look and said, "David, I need this, or I'm going to lose my mind." Lying in bed that night listening to her pack, I thought, this doesn't feel like vacation, this feels like escape. The morning she left, I took the day off to drive her to the airport. Hannah was in her car seat in the back, fussy the whole way, fighting a cold all week. Lauren stared out the window with her headphones in like we weren't even there. I tried making small talk, asked if she had her passport, and she'd just nod or give one-word answers. The tension was suffocating. Every time Hannah whimpered, I'd glance at Lauren, but she never reacted. When we pulled up to departures, I helped her get her bags out, and Hannah started really crying now. That panic cry babies do when they sense something's wrong. I asked Lauren one more time if she was absolutely certain. Maybe cut it to 2 or 3 weeks. She snapped, "David, I need this, or I'm going to lose my mind." There was something in her voice that told me this conversation was over. I didn't say anything after that, just stood there holding screaming Hannah. Lauren leaned in to kiss her forehead and said, "Mommy will be back soon, sweetie." But when Hannah reached for her with both arms, Lauren just pulled back. She told me she'd text when she landed, grabbed her suitcase, and walked into the terminal without looking back. I stood there watching her disappear through the automatic doors while Hannah sobbed into my shoulder. I sat in the driver's seat for 5 minutes listening to my daughter scream, trying to process what had just happened. I wondered when needing space turned into needing to be on another continent away from your own child. When I pulled into our apartment complex, I realized I had no idea what I was doing. I'd never been alone with Hannah for more than a few hours, and now I was looking at 30 days. The first days were brutal. Hannah cried every night around 7 p.m., which was when Lauren used to put her to bed. I was trying to work from home while taking care of a baby who wanted her mom and didn't understand why she wasn't there. I'd get maybe 3 hours of broken sleep, then wake at 6 for diapers and breakfast and emails while Hannah pulled on my leg or threw food on the floor. Meanwhile, Lauren was posting photos of cafes in Paris and cocktails in Rome. She'd text every few days with "Hope you guys are doing okay," followed by a heart emoji, super casual, like checking on a houseplant. When I'd tell her Hannah had been up all night with a fever or I'd had to leave a work meeting for a diaper blowout, she'd respond 6 or 7 hours later with, "Poor baby, glad you're handling it," like I'd just told her about a minor inconvenience. I wasn't asking her to come home or even feel guilty. I was just updating her about our daughter and getting responses that felt like they were meant for someone else's kid. By the second week, I'd stopped expecting her to ask how we were doing because she just didn't. I'd look at my daughter, this tiny person who didn't understand where her mom went, and I'd think about Lauren in some Barcelona Airbnb drinking wine with her college friends, and something inside me fundamentally shifted. I wasn't angry yet. I was something colder and clearer. I realized Lauren wasn't on a trip. She was living like she didn't have a child. Someone had to live like Hannah existed. Someone had to be the parent who stayed. That someone was me. My neighbor, Mrs. Delaney, was the first person to notice something was seriously wrong. She'd been hearing Hannah cry through the walls at odd hours. One morning when I was taking out trash at 6 a.m., looking like I hadn't slept in a week, she stopped me in the hallway and asked if everything was okay. I told her Lauren was traveling for work, which was easier than explaining the truth. She gave me this look that older women give when they know you're drowning, but are too polite to call you out. She offered to watch Hannah for a few hours if I needed to catch up on sleep. I almost cried right there because I hadn't realized how desperately I needed help until someone offered it. That same week, Hannah developed an ear infection. She kept pulling at her left ear and crying more than usual. When her temperature hit 102, I knew I had to take her to urgent care. I spent 4 hours in that waiting room with a screaming baby, trying to keep her calm while answering work emails because I had a client presentation the next day. The doctor saw us around 8 p.m., prescribed antibiotics, and told me to monitor her temperature. I texted Lauren to let her know, tried to keep it factual, and she responded the next morning with a sad face emoji and "poor baby, glad you got her to a doctor." Like I'd taken Hannah for a routine checkup instead of dealing with a medical emergency alone. That same day, Lauren posted a photo at a Barcelona rooftop bar with a cocktail, caption, "Living my best life," with heart and airplane emojis. I stared at my phone thinking, how is this the same person who used to cry watching videos of Hannah learning to clap? The contrast made me feel sick. My daughter was sick and miserable, and I was running on empty, and Lauren was acting like she was 23 again with zero responsibilities. The financial stuff started bothering me around week 3. I logged into our joint checking account and saw charges from Europe. Restaurants costing $200, hotels $300 and $400 a night, ATM withdrawals for hundreds of euros. She'd spent close to $7,000 in 3 weeks. Meanwhile, I was buying diapers, groceries, prescription medication, paying rent and utilities. I started taking screenshots of every transaction. Something in my gut told me I needed documentation. I saved them in a folder labeled Expenses 2024. I was running on autopilot. Wake at 6 when Hannah cried. Change her diaper. Make breakfast. Squeeze and work while she played with blocks or watched Bluey. Put her down for a nap and work frantically during that window. Lunch. More work. Dinner. Bath time. The bedtime routine that took an hour. Then maybe 1 hour to myself before passing out from exhaustion. My boss had been understanding the first week, but by week 3, he was sending emails like, "Need to discuss your availability." One afternoon on a video call with a client, Hannah started screaming in the background. I had to mute myself and rock her while pretending to pay attention to the screen. After the call, my boss sent a message. "We need to talk." I felt my stomach drop. That's when Ron saved me. He was a senior consultant, older guy mid-50s, who'd overheard me scheduling a follow-up pediatrician appointment. He pulled me aside after a meeting and said, "You look like absolute hell, man. What's going on?" Something about the directness broke through my defenses. I gave him the abbreviated version. Wife in Europe for a month, baby at home with an ear infection, trying to keep my job and sanity. Ron nodded slowly like he'd heard this before, then told me he'd been through something similar 20 years ago. His ex-wife left him with their 6-year-old son for 6 months to find herself in California. By the time she came back, he'd already filed for separation and primary custody. He looked me dead in the eye and said, "The court doesn't care about feelings, David. It cares about facts. Who's feeding the kid? Who's taking her to the doctor? Who's actually showing up day after day?" Then he handed me a business card for a family lawyer named Patty. I took the card, thanked him, but said I didn't think it would come to that. Ron shrugged and said, "Maybe not, but keep it just in case." I didn't call the lawyer right away because part of me believed this was temporary, that Lauren would come home and see what she'd done and feel terrible. But that belief was getting harder to hold on to, especially when I'd see her Instagram stories from Amsterdam showing her at clubs at 2 a.m., dancing and laughing. I started keeping a log around day 20. Nothing fancy, just a spiral notebook where I'd write everything that happened. What time Hannah woke up, what she ate, doctor visits, how much money Lauren spent, what time she texted, and exactly what she said. I felt insane documenting my life as evidence for a trial that hadn't been scheduled yet. But Ron's words kept playing. Facts, not feelings. Lauren called me exactly twice the entire month. Once from Paris during the first week, making a token effort. Once from Amsterdam, near the end to tell me her flight time. Both